The crash of the plate shattered the morning calm of the Maplewood diner. Pancakes, sticky with syrup, splattered across the checkered floor. A sweet, messy ruin. The sound was followed by a burst of cruel laughter that echoed off the chrome trim and vinyl seats. At a booth by the window, a girl named Clara sat frozen in her wheelchair, her trembling hands clutching the armrests. The world had just been pulled out from under her. Literally. One boy had slapped the plate from her lap, and another had given her wheelchair a hard, mocking shove. The diner went silent, but the laughter of the bullies filled the void, loud and sharp. Tears welled in Clara's eyes, hot and stinging. She fought to hold them back, but the fire of humiliation burned brighter and hotter than any physical pain she had ever known. Clara's life was a constant navigation of a world not built for her. Born with a condition that kept her in a wheelchair, she had learned to build walls around her spirit. Her parents had always told her she had wings, even if her legs couldn't carry her. She held on to that idea like a secret treasure, but days like this made it feel like a lie. She was used to the stares, the whispers, the sad smiles from people who saw her chair before they saw her. But this was different. This wasn't pity. This was poor, jagged cruelty, designed to break her. As the boys high-fived each other, bragging about their prank, the other patrons in the diner seemed to shrink. Some glanced over, their faces tight with disapproval, before quickly looking away, burying their heads in menus or conversations. The waitress stood paralyzed in the aisle, a pot of coffee in her hand, her expression a mix of fear and helplessness. No one moved, spoke up. Feeling 100 pairs of eyes on her, Clara bent down, her movements awkward and strained. She tried to pick up the ruined pieces of her breakfast, her fingers shaking so badly she could barely grasp them. Her only thought was to make it stop, to disappear. Just then, another hand reached down beside hers. It was not a rough, mocking hand, but one that was wrinkled and gentle. An older man with graying hair and kind eyes quietly picked up the plate and placed it back on her table. "Don't you mind them?" he whispered, but his own eyes flickered nervously toward the loud group of teenagers. His small act of kindness was a tiny spark in a vast darkness, but Clara still felt shattered, exposed in a way that was invisible to everyone else. She sat motionless, her appetite vanished. A thick lump of unspoken grief lodged in her throat. Why did people do things like this? Why was it so easy for them to find joy in someone else's pain? Her heart hammered against her ribs with every new wave of laughter from the bullies' booth. She closed her eyes, praying for it all to be over. An hour felt like an eternity. Then, a new sound began to filter into the diner. It started as a low, deep rumble, a vibration you could feel in the floor before you could properly hear it. It grew steadily, like distant thunder rolling closer. Heads began to turn towards the large windows overlooking the parking lot. The sound swelled into the unmistakable growl of powerful engines. Dozens of motorcycles were pulling into the lot, their chrome and polished paint gleaming in the sun. They parked in a precise, intimidating line, their engines idling like a pack of restless wolves. On the back of their leather jackets was an insignia everyone recognized. The Hells Angels. The atmosphere inside the diner shifted instantly. The arrogant smirks on the bullies' faces began to fade, replaced by a nervous uncertainty. The diner's bell jingled softly as the front door swung open, but the silence that followed was deafening. A man who seemed as wide as the doorframe stepped inside. He was tall, with a thick beard, and eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. His leather vest was covered in patches, telling stories of a life lived on the road. He was followed by another man, and then another, until a dozen of them filled the entrance, their presence making the cozy diner feel small and charged with an unspoken tension. Clara's heart, which had been pounding with shame, now raced with a mixture of fear and a strange, budding curiosity. The leader, the first man through the door, scanned the room. His sharp gaze swept past the families and the lone coffee drinkers, landing squarely on the booth of bullies. Then, his eyes found Clara. In that moment, the hardness in his expression soft, replaced by something that looked like understanding. He moved toward her, his heavy boots making a slow, deliberate sound on the tile. He didn't tower over her. Instead, he knelt down beside her wheelchair, bringing himself to her level. For the first time all morning, Clara didn't feel small or broken. Sefelt Shane. The leader, whose name was Roar, never raised his voice. He simply turned his head and looked at the bullies. They sat frozen, their faces pale, their earlier bravado completely gone. Laughter was the last thing on their minds. Roar spoke to them in a low, steady tone, too quiet for Clara to hear the words, but she didn't need to. She saw the effect they had. She saw the boys' eyes widen, saw the color drain from their faces, saw shame finally wash over them. One by one, they slid out of their booth, stumbling over their own feet as they scrambled for the exit. They kept their heads down, unable to meet the gaze of anyone in the room, especially not Clara's. But Roar's work wasn't finished. He stood up, flagged down the stunned waitress, and placed a crisp $100 bill on Clara's table. "Bring her anything she wants," he said, his voice a warm rumble. "Pancakes, a milkshake, a slice of pie, whatever she wants. It's on us." He then turned back to Clara, his eyes gentle. "You're stronger than cowards like them could ever be." Then, he did something no one in the diner would ever forget. He unzipped his own worn leather vest, the one bearing his club's colors, and gently draped it over Clara's small shoulders. It was heavy and smelled of leather in the open road. "You're with us now. Isaid softly, your family." Tears streamed down Clara's face again. But these were not tears of humiliation. They were tears of relief, of gratitude, of a profound and overwhelming sense of belonging. In the space of an hour, the worst morning of her life had become something powerful. She learned that family could be found in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the people who looked the fiercest on the outside carried the kindest hearts on the inside. A quiet, scattered applause broke out across the diner as patrons watched the scene unfold. The waitress came over and gave Clara a warm hug, promising her that she would always have a safe place there. For the first time in so long, Clara felt a powerful surge of hope. Cruelty was real, but so was courage, and sometimes all it took was for a few strangers to step in and help you rewrite the ending of your own story.